Hey, how's everybody doing? Glad to have you guys at the start of the stream. Just kind of clean stuff up and then we'll get started real quick. Give us a few minutes for any stragglers to sort of make their way in. How's everybody doing today? You guys doing alright? Let's get this up. Go. Perfect. And let me know about the volume of the music in the background. It always sounds... It's very difficult for me to tell because I can hear my own voice, but kind of hard to judge it based off of how the background music is. So if that's too loud or too quiet, let me know and I can adjust that. So for those of you who are new, we are continuing our solo D&D adventure is what we're doing. This is the 4th episode that we're doing, right? 4th? 5th, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is the 5th episode. Crazy. Starting to lose track already. It's not good. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So did a little post at Twitter so it makes see if we have any stragglers that are gonna find their way in. So yeah, how are you guys doing? If you have any questions or anything, this is your first time, drop it in the chat. Love to see it. We have a follower goal right now, and we're very close to it. Hopefully, if things go well, we'll hit that today. But that's up to you guys. Let's see. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. My weekend's going okay. Could be going a little bit better. I was doing a workout this weekend, and I tweaked my back as I was finishing a set of squats and re-racking the weights. So I've got a heating pad on it, so if I look a little uncomfortable today, that's why. Back does not feel great. But I've got some heat on it and some anti-inflammatories, and it's feeling better than it did yesterday, so things are going that way. But I did also take off a little bit of time at work this week, and that was nice. Just have a couple of days just sort of like me time, a little mental relaxation before I jump back into another week of work. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that's going on with me. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump into sort of like a recap of what happened last time. If you haven't watched up to this time, this is your first time watching, you can catch some of the videos on demand. You can hit the Twitch channel for that. Otherwise, you can, if you look down at the bottom here, you can hit up YouTube at Red Ragged Fiend, and that's got all the episodes up to this point, and you can catch up on the stream afterwards, see how we sort of got there. But let's talk about sort of what happened last time. So we sort of picked up with Leah, Ott, and Omer hopping into the rowboat at the. Let me pull that up actually. Hopping into boats so they could check out sort of the oasis. Let me just pull this up on screen. Oh, it's not pulling up the right thing. Why is it not pulling up the right thing? There it is. Yeah, so you see we've got this highlighted hex right here. So we kind of picked that up because we were checking out the storm disturbance. That's what we got hired to do. Sort of what we did last time. So Leah and Ott were in there, and then they had Omer, who was sort of the research scientist hired by the local plantation owner to deal with this storm because it's very close to his crops, and it's time to plant the spring crops, so he needs it dealt with. So they went out to go sort of take a look at it. And as they did, they got a little bit too close. They ended up upsetting the source of the storm, which ended up being a corrupted water myrmidon, which is a higher level water elemental in D&D that had been corrupted. So it attacked them. It tumped over their boat, knocking them all into the water. They had a very difficult sort of swimming fight with this water elemental, but were able to damage it enough to sort of drive it from the field, and so they were sort of hopped back in the rowboat and chased it down. During that time, Omer revealed that he had a scroll of calm emotions, which I thought would be very useful, because remember, if you've been paying attention earlier on, Omer wants to not kill this thing. He wants to research it further, understand what happened to it, why it's doing what it's doing. Because Omer and Leah are both from sort of an academic researcher background, specifically in elementals and primordials. And so Omer's basic plan for the adventure was trying to relocate this water elemental so he could further study it. Unfortunately, as they were sort of driving it out of this combat and it was fleeing, it decided to flee directly in the direction of the plantation, though he sort of rolled randomly, and that's the way they ended up going. So we did a little skill challenges. They rowed the boat and tried to cut off this water elemental and sort of like change its heading and sort of move it away from the plantation. And they did that, and they ended up moving it right over here into this sort of marsh hex right here, where they were able to fight a little bit better once they were they weren't fully swimming, they were only into the water, in water that goes up somewhere between sort of like their waist and, calf, somewhere in between there, depending on the level of ground they're on. What did make that difficult is that the water elemental, once it drops down into the water, it has a swim speed. It's being primarily water, it's almost impossible to see. Leah tried to cast that Calm Emotion spell. Didn't really work out so well. It took her a long time to cast it because we kind of made her have to roll to cast it because she wasn't fully a level 1 character yet. She was still level 0 at that point. She finally got it to go off, but unfortunately the area that she chose to sort of put the area effect on for Calm Emotions, the water elemental was no longer in that area, and so it kind of fizzled and didn't go off. But she did cast the spell correctly, which is going to kind of lead into what she's doing this time. Otherwise, they ended up driving it off, almost killing the thing, but ended up driving it off, and it's going to the southeast. And if we look at our map here, we think that it's going here. We're not sure yet, though. But we think that... So we knew that this hazard was here on our map, but we didn't know what that was yet because we haven't explored out there. We haven't explored any of these hexes. And each of these hexes, you remember, represents basically an hour of travel. So, it's relocated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 hours southeast of where it was originally. And so we have that here, and I think we've got that here on our secret notes. You can see at the bottom that we've driven off the corrupted water myrmidon. And so this sort of hex is now clear of that obstruction. But that's most of what we've done so far. Azaki, who is the owner of the plan, or Akari, sorry. I keep calling him 2 separate names. It's Akari, not Azaki. Akari came out and met them and brought them over to the house. He had hired them. They had up to 8 days to sort of basically do this, but in the time that they had hired Leah and Ott to sort of assist with it, it took basically the afternoon. So he's pretty impressed with the service so far. He paid them for the full week, basically, of working on this, and wants their help with another matter. So we actually have a couple things kind of going on for the group at this point, which I think I've got down here. So he wants, Akari wants help with this foreign occupation camp. So there are some warriors down here on the shore of the oasis, and they've been sort of commandeering grain from him at the moment, and he told Leah and Ott and Omer that basically they're buying it at this point, but at whatever point they're going to run out of money being camped there, they're probably just going to take his goods which he doesn't want. And now that Leia and Ott have sort of proven themselves, he wants to sort of have them, put their mettle to it to see if they can sort of resolve this situation before it becomes it escalates, basically. We know that Leia is very much, because of Leia's background, she's got a lot of trepidation as to being an adventurer, because she was a hireling for an adventuring party previously before the game started, and it went quite badly. So she's not really excited about jumping back into that lifestyle for obvious reasons. She has a lot of guilt and shame that's sort of wrapped up in that we have yet to sort of explore yet, other than just know it's there. So they went back and forth a little bit. Ott's sort of on board because she sort of completed her contract for Leia and is kind of looking for work, and at least being able to like go out and take a look at the camp and see what's what and see what information she can gather is very much within Ott's sort of wheelhouse as a guide. So that's one of the things that she'll be taking on. But Leia has agreed to sort of at least entertain the idea, with Akari's backing, to basically get her the supplies that she needs and time she needs to basically become a level 1 wizard, which we're going to give her a week to do that. For her to have sort of like bought books, and remember she's a high elf already, so she's already inherently magical. She already started with a cantrip just from her background, so she's knowledgeable about magic. She's got secondary education specifically in magic, just not in the practicing in magic, more of the theory and history of it, and it's how it deals with elementals. So now she needs to put that into sort of like practical means. So I think her being able to go from only being able to cast one cantrip to being basically a level 1 wizard, which means casting a few more cantrips and knowing some spells and how to cast them, because she's successfully already casted one first level spell, right? I think it's a first level spell. Maybe a second level spell, actually, Calm Emotions. So she's done that, and she can cast cantrips already, so I feel like a week seems reasonable for her to sort of make that change. But it's basically a week that Leah's out of commission. She is hardcore studying. She's locked herself in a room, she's in research mode, and she's just blowing and going. Omer, however, is trying to recover what of his research gear he can from sort of the bottom of the oasis, because the boat got tumped over by the Myrmidon and all his research equipment went to the bottom of it. So he's probably hired some other people to help him sort of dredge the bottom of the oasis and try to recover what of their expensive instruments that they can. So that's sort of the setup for where we're at right now. And is there anything I forgot about that? I don't think so. But let me check. All right, yeah. So we moved the day forward, so it's Spring Maiden 54 right now, which is March 13th, roughly, in our world. Now the weather's just terrible. I ended up rolling terrible weather, so it's cold. There's a bit of a like final cold snap that's going on, and I think part of that deals in with the permanent storm that was sort of over Spring Valley Oasis has dissipated because the Myrmidons moved, and I think that's made the weather extremely screwy. So that's why there's sort of this battering storm of wind and cold rain that's sort of lashing down in the area, just kind of coming down in torrents today. We know Leah's out of commission. So she's on downtime basically until Spring Maiden 65, which is going to be towards the very end of the month. Omer is currently dredging the Oasis to recover his gear. We talked about that. We do know that Omer's going to request help from Leia for further sort of tracking and tagging for the Myrmidon. But obviously he can't do that until he gets his gear back, and until whether he recovers his gear or gets new gear to be able to do that, and until Leia finishes doing her study so she can be a level 1 wizard. So what that basically left us is with Ott not really having anything to do, because the other two, one NPC and our main character, are sort of tied up doing very specific things, and they're not things that Ott can really help with. I mean, Ott could help them dredge the bottom of the lake, but I think Akari, not Azaki, Akari would ask him specifically to go do that. And speaking of which, do I actually have the wrong name down here? I do, that's why. This should be Akari. That's not Azaki. That's why I'm doing that. So because Ott has that free time, I sort of took a step and decided, okay, this is sort of what we're going to do for the day. But before I sort of go over that, let's kind of look at the map real quick, because I made a few changes. If you guys have been watching the map so far. So I took we had these little flowers, so that's our Atlas hexes, which are very large hexes. This sort of like represent what the world looks like in this area. Region is slightly smaller hexes. So basically all of these region hexes over here on the left, all of these guys fit actually within this one Atlas hex, which is our central Atlas hex that we're starting with. And then within this one are all of these. And these are our county hexes. So each of these individual hexes represent about a day's worth of travel to get across. So we can see that in the middle we've got the Split Valley Oasis, and that middle one is this sort of hex. So these gray hexes here signify they're hexes that cross multiple hex boundaries of the hexes in these lower left corner, these larger hexes. So they kind of cross the boundary. So it's very useful to kind of use them, and the biome they sort of end up being is determined by whatever the larger hexes are around them. So you can see sort of here that I've filled those out with this orangish color, and I changed it to this orangish color to represent sort of scrubland. So it's kind of a dry, craggy sort of area. If you imagine a very sort of Mediterranean, North African sort of area, there's not a ton of grass. Most of it's sort of broken up. If you think about Greek Isles, they're very much in the same way. It's not particularly super great farmland, which is why they have the plantations actually in the marshland around the oasis and not in sort of this scrub area. But it does seem to be, that sort of land does seem to be okay for herding, so we may run into some herders. But I made a change just so it was much easier to tell the difference. And you can see this really down on the county square hexes down on the bottom left. Really tell the difference between sort of these scrub areas and these dry or light forest areas. I just made it so it was a little bit more visually contrasted, so they're easier to look at, because previously they were the same color. And that kind of gets a little difficult when you're looking between desert and scrub and grasslands to be able to determine which one is which. I also did, we also went and took the river and sort of moved it out so we could see, what that looks like. So obviously this river, you can kind of see in the bottom there, it's going to come out here and go around. But we don't know that yet because we haven't explored that far. But that's sort of where we're picking up right now. So if you guys have any questions about any of that, like I said, we've got the previous stuff if you want to see about like this hex mapping process and how all that works. You can check out the website below, redragonfiend.com. I have a whole series of posts where we talk about hex mapping from, hex mapping a world all the way down to like this level of granularity where we're looking at, hours traveled on the map and how those hexes all sort of fit into each other, all nest. So you can make maps within maps that still feel cohesive. And how to stock them with things and all that good stuff. So if you're interested in stuff like that, the website has a blog that's got a ton of that stuff in it that you'll be able to get your hands on. But let's go over sort of like our itinerary sort of for today. What I thought our itinerary would be for today. The rules may tell us something else. Alright, so the first thing is that we're going to have Ott go on that scouting mission to the foreign occupiers camp. Now, let me flip back. So we're kind of starting here, and so at the Oasis at the trading post, right? Because they're staying at the caravanserai. And Leah's sort of locked up in their room, just scribbling away, studying like final exams. So Ott's going to go from that square. She's probably going to take a boat. I assume she'll take a boat, go down, kind of straight down, and head into this marsh hex, so it doesn't look like there's a bunch of open area around the foreign occupation camp, and I don't think she wants to row directly to it. She's kind of trying to be sneaky, because she just kind of wants intelligence about what's going on. So she'll kind of come into this. This is the plan anyway. She'll come into this marsh square and then kind of sneak up and see what she can learn. So yeah, I'm just gonna say that Ott went ahead and they took some of the money they earned and she used it to refill up her quiver. She was running a little bit short on arrows, and then I transferred the rations from Leah's sheet over to Ott's sheet since Ott's gonna be doing all the work today. We think. I talked about expanding the map a little bit since we're going to start hex crawling soon. We're about to run out of stuff to kind of do in this immediate area. We'll probably start doing some hex crawling. We'll start visiting some of these other locations, especially if we wants to go see the Myrmidon with Omer. So her idea is she's going to travel to the camp. She's going to sneak up, reconnoiter the camp, see if she can get some specifics about like who these people are, why they're here, how long they're going to stay, and if all things go right, she's going to return safe and unnoticed with that information. She's going to return that to Akari first and foremost. Now the next thing is that she has some exceptionally bad weather that's really going to help make sneaking around very easy. Unfortunately, it's also going to be very miserable for Ott. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. So I guess let's just, you know what, before we get started, and I should have done this earlier, I do have to use the restroom real quick. So let me use the restroom real quick, and then I'll be right back, and then we'll get started. So hold on for just a minute. Alright, I'm back. Thanks for hanging in there for a second. Like I said, should have done that before I started the stream. Kind of ran out of time. Alright, so we're gonna do, this is gonna be our first time, I think, using sort of we used it slightly a little bit before. We're using the solo exploration hex crawl things. Because Ott's gonna try to make her way from here down to here. I guess the first thing on there is to see if Ott's going to be able to commandeer a boat. So let's give her sort of a... let's see, what would be... Because, I mean, there's probably plenty of boats around. I guess first thing we should do is let's just roll an oracle roll to see if Akari has left them sort of a boat, because Omer's using his boat, so they're not gonna be able to use that one. Or if let's see if Akari's boats are also in the dredging portion. I think that's kind of likely, so I'm going to kind of give her a -3 to this roll to see if there's a boat that she could use without purchasing or buying it or whatever, or stealing it. Alright, so that's 15 -3 is 12. 12 puts us in the yes or no but category. So, I think that she wants the boat rather than trying to walk all the way around the oasis. That's going to save her a lot of time. So let's see sort of what the roll is, and then we'll make a sort of decision if that's something she goes with. So we have a d6 roll. Okay. Alright, that's a 5. There's an intrusive or disruptive event. So, yes, there's something to do. There's something to, there is a boat that she can use, but something's going to disrupt that. Let's find out. Again, we're using the event meaning action and subject sheet. This is from the GM emulator. It's not my favorite sheet, but it's the one I'm using right now. I'll probably make my own at some point. I just haven't really gotten around to it. I need to look at some other examples, see what other people have in different systems for GM emulators to see what I like and what I don't like. Like, this is good, but it does create a lot of work sort of on my end to sort of interpret the results. But we rolled a 47 for our action. So travel makes sense. We're traveling. And 15. Travel the innocent. Ooh, what does that mean? Okay, yeah. So I think that there's a small child who's basically watching this boat. And maybe their parent has been one of the ones that's been sort of conscripted by Omer to help with dredging up the bed of the oasis. And so we have this small child who's supposed to be watching this, and it's like they're probably on orders from their parent to be like, "Don't let our boat out of your sight." And so I think that Ott kind of Ott, our hulking sort of 7-foot knoll, kind of looks at the child and tries to parlay sort of for the boat. She's sort of like, "I need your boat." It's got a very sort of like Terminator sort of feel to it. "Come with me if you want to leave." And I think this kid, being a small child and not really understanding the situation, is like, "No, I can't go. Like, you have to keep this." My, let's say dad said, I'm supposed to stay with the boat. Can't let it out of my sight. So, I think Ott's willing to pay for the boat. Probably, we'll give Ott a charisma check, but I think she's probably gonna pay, like, 1 gold. But let's give her a charisma check, because she's not the greatest negotiator in the world. She has a negative, I know that. That's an 11. So yeah, I think that's one. I think trying to negotiate with a child, and I think you pull out a full gold piece, and the child's gonna be like, "Whoa!" Probably never seen that much money in their life, or at least never like held it. Like, "I want to borrow it," so she's like, "I'm gonna borrow your boat for a day," and we'll just take this off of Leah's. So Leah is going to go from 23 to 22. So we're just letting Leah hold all the gold for right now. But the problem is that the child, the only condition is the child has to go with her, which she's not super keen on for a number of reasons. I think she tries to pay more, but with that charisma roll, it was like, no, you have to take the kid with you. And she's like, all right, I'll take the kid with me, and the kid can stay in the boat and watch the boat. All right, so that's what we'll do. That's sort of situated. Let's get back to our map. All right, so we're gonna do our solo exploration. So the first thing we need to do is we need a Constitution saving throw from Ott, kind of determine our day here. So her Constitution is +1. And normally I'd give her advantage for this because they're using a vehicle, but because the weather is so bad, I think those things are going to sort of zero each other out. So it's just a flat roll. And this Constitution check goes, and you'll see as we go sort of through the exploration rolls, kind of helps determine how far they can move each day before they become exhausted and need to rest. And she rolled very badly, so that's a 6. Remember that she did just yesterday roll a whole bunch and become exhausted from it, so. Sorry, I said 6. Yeah. So not great. Not great at all. So then they will go ahead and move into this first square. So she sort of rows them into this first square. Let me roll. So for each square they go into, they take a little bit. We bump up against that DC. It'll become very obvious very much later on as we sort of go through it, and I'll look at the document more. I just kind of want to get us going first. All right, so 2. 2 of 6. All right, so they go to the first one without any problem. So basically, I roll a d6 every time that we enter a new square, and that number builds up until it reaches the con save value. At which point they'll start to take. If they try to push to keep going further, they'll start taking exhaustion levels. They'll have to make checks to avoid that. So I get out in the first one, rowing, no problem. We also want to roll a d12. And this kind of determines if we run across anything in the oasis. Alright, well I rolled a 1, which means we do. When it comes to that d12, and let me get over here. So that's this roll, the random encounter roll. So if we roll a 1, it's an encounter. If we roll a 12, it's some sort of dressing, some sort of other thing that happens. But all right. Well, we rolled an encounter, so we know we're going to encounter. I don't have the encounters on here yet. I'm still sort of building this document as we go. That's all right, because I have the other stuff here. So, actually, I think I'm going to roll this. Let's use Kobold Club. Let's, 2d6. 3. Okay, that's it's -1, I believe. All right, so we want a medium encounter. We're just gonna do the native environment, which is aquatic, but there's also a marsh nearby, so let's do that. They don't have marsh; they just have swamp. That's fine. So let's. All right, I don't think an octopus or a seahorse necessarily makes sense for an in-water lake. Not really spiders. Oh yeah, let's use quippers. Quippers are fun. Alright, so we needed a medium thing. Alright, well I don't want hard, so let's go with the easy. Only 2 quippers. Not too bad. Hop over here. I think quippers are in here. Pretty sure quippers are in the monster manual. There we go. So yeah, I think now that the storm has subsided, some of the more dangerous sort of things start to come out. So we have some quippers that are going to swim up to our ship. Now, is there anything anything that they would do? They don't really have anything that would stop them from attacking necessarily, but let's see. Let's get sort of a range on the quippers. Neither the child nor otter in the water, so the likelihood that they're going to jump into the boat is kind of unlikely unless they're in a blood frenzy and they just need to feed. So let's roll a 2d6. If I roll extremely low, then that's what'll happen. I did not roll extremely low. That's a 6. So yeah, I think that they come up and they start attacking basically the oar as Ott's trying to row the boat. And let's see. I think the kid's. This is probably a fishing boat, so I'm guessing that the kid has some sort of like small fishing spear, like the little tiny trident ones, and it's gonna try to take a stab and see if it can grab one of these things. Kids kind of proving their mettle. With an 18 on the die, I think they do. Now, I don't think quippers have very many hit points. I may just say that they just straight up kills him. Yeah, 1 hit point. Okay. Alright, yeah, so these things kind of come up, and this kid kind of pops it with the fishing spear and kind of pulls it into the boat as it's sort of flipping around on the edge of the spear. And I assume there's probably like a little small, they probably have like a bag or something, a fish bag or basket to keep the fish in, and kind of toss it in there. They probably got some water in the bottom of it. And then I think Ott's just going to keep rowing, so we're going to give this kid one more chance to sort of take a stab at one of these things and prove their mettle again. Well, that's a natural 1. So I think the kid got really confident. It's like, yeah, that's what I do. And Ott seems, as much as you can read a giant hyena's face, I guess the kid takes that as being impressed with what the kid can do. And so the kid gets a little bit cocky and sort of like puts a foot up on the railing and sort of stabs at the other one. With that natural 1, I think they just fall in. They fall into the water, so let's go ahead and do an initiative real quick. See if, so I mentioned this, I think, last time, or maybe the time before, but I usually just use passive initiative for the bad guys, so the quippers go on 10 plus their dex. And so I just need to figure out if Ott's going to go before or after the quipper. Okay, Ott's going to go before, and let's find out about the kid. No, the kid's going after. Okay. Alright, so the kid falls into the water. Ott's kind of drops the oars at that point and is like, because there's still 1 quipper in there, and the kid's a commoner, which means they don't have a lot of hit points. So I think this thing can just straight up probably kill it. Now, the creature does have a lot of hit points at this point. It only does 1 piercing damage. That's not too bad. But I think she's going to try to grab the kid and try to haul him back in. So let's do a strength athletics, so that's +1 to just try to grab the kid by the back of their tunic and sort of like pull him in. All right, that's a 13 total. Let me check what the DC is, because that's sort of in the in-between zone where that may or may not work. All right. Unfortunately, it's a 14, so she's got I'd sort of dropped the oars and gotten the kid and pulled the kid about halfway out. Unfortunately, this quipper's going to come and try to get a snack on this kid, where I can sort of pull them back in. Oh, that's 3 on the die. Good. So, kid sort of like kicks this quipper in the mouth, and then the kid will attempt to scramble back in. We already know the DC for that. They're sort of slipping and sliding, trying to fight Ott and the quipper at the same time, trying to get it back into the boat, unsuccessfully. And then it is going to be the top of the order, so it's going to be Odd again. Odd's going to keep pulling on this kid, trying to get him back in the boat. Oh, natural 20. Absolutely. Really sort of like takes both hands now and sort of like under the armpit just lifts and drags them back into the boat. I think after that, let's see. The Quipper at this point is going to try to jump into the boat, so it's going after, like, there's blood in the water now, right? Because the other Quipper got stabbed. So I think it's going a little crazy. It tried to go after this kid. I think it's going to try to jump into the boat with them. Oh, and with an 18, absolutely does, and I think it goes for the kid again. All right, yeah, 19 on the die, bites the kid. The kid's screaming as this thing jumps in the way and like probably like takes a hunk out of their arms, like ah. Yeah, I think it is the kid's turn. I think the kid's gonna try to. I'm gonna give them just sort of a basic check, and if they hit 13 or better, I'm going to say that they pull the Quipper off of them and just chuck it back into the water somewhere. No, that's a 5 on the die, so still munching on them as they're trying to like get it off of them. I think that... Oh, I was looking at Leah instead of Odd. I was like, that did seem low. Okay, yeah. Odd probably would have pulled them back into the boat on the first try, but that's okay. So Odd's going to attempt to do the same. Also fail, but because they're a sidekick, one of those extra things that expert sidekicks get to do is that they're able to use help as a bonus action. So she's going to use her bonus action to help the kid so they'll have advantage trying to pull this thing off of them. Thing's going to make a bite. I'm going to say it has advantage on it because it's already in the boat with them. It's got a captive sort of audience. Alright, does another point of damage to the kids. So the kid's taking 2 points of damage. I think commoners have 5 hit points, so not looking great. But the kid does have advantage to sort of like grab this thing and throw it off of him. That's an 11 and a 12. We said it was the 13 to do it. Not doing it. Okay, Leah's gonna try. Oh my gosh, they are not having any luck with this thing. Alright, the thing's gonna try to attack the kid. Oh, yeah, so 3 points of damage. Right, I'm not making that up, right? I'm pretty sure. Okay, they have 4 hit points. That's worse. Taking 3 points of damage, so this thing's really ripped her up real bad. Ripped up this kid. Yeah, I think at this point, Ott just attacks it. It's going to, yeah, just multi-attack. It's only got 1 hit point. She's not gonna take the time to sort of pull out her weapon, so she's just gonna like try to rip at this thing with her hands. At this point, she's just trying to kill the thing, not try to get it back in the water. So she's got 2 attacks, plus 4. Wow, I think both of those miss. Let me make sure. Uh-oh, this kid may die. That's not good. That's not good at all. There we go. Man, it's only got 1 hit point. But, what's its AC? 13, yeah. She didn't hit him. Alright, Quipper's gonna try to kill this kid. What's their bonus? Oh man, that's really close. You got a +4? They have an AC of 10. 6 plus 4 is 10, yeah. So yeah, this Quipper continues to attack this kid, and the kid passes out after this thing. All right, well, that would take it to the kid's turn. The kid is going to do some death saves. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save the death saves, just so I don't metagame it too much. And let's just make a note of it real quick. So we have the idea is that Ott needs to get rid of the Quipper before she can provide any sort of first aid to the kid. And that thing's I think still going to attack the kid, so it'll just maybe kill it outright. We don't know. So she's going to use her 2 attacks. Try to kill this thing. She only has to hit it. Okay, thank goodness. 17 on the die. Yeah, alright, so she kills the Quipper. I don't think you can use the help action. I think people have to be able to see and or hear you to use the help action. So I don't think they can have advantage on the saving throw. So then the kid will make another death save. And then Ott will attempt to provide first aid. Let's if I bring Ott up. Ott does not have medicine, but she has a +1. Okay, yeah. No, that's enough, because you only need a 10 to stabilize. So she's able to stabilize the kid, we think. I guess we can find out, because they could always have rolled a 1 on one of those death saves and actually already be dead, so let's find out. You know, speaking, it will come true. That second death save was definitely a 1, which counts as 2 failures. But the first one, luckily, was a success. So, only down 2. Wow, that's really close. Oh. This adventure was about to go way different if I had gotten some random kid killed. Instead, she just got some random kid almost killed, and that's totally okay. Alright, well, the kid's gonna have to rest, I guess, in the boat. Wow. That is not a great way to start off this adventure. Hopefully that's not indicative of what's to come, or it's going to be a real tough day for Ott. I mean, they've mainly been tough days for Ott so far, but been here 2 days, got the crap kicked out of her on the first day, got the crap kicked out of her on the second day. Almost got a child killed on the third day. Alright, well that was it. Well, let's roll a d20 to see if there's something in the square. It's worth mentioning. There's not. Okay, good. Well, that got us off to a bang. Alright, gonna head into this next hex here. So let's roll our d6. Oh good, we rolled a 1. That's fabulous. That's exactly what we want. So, right, not feeling fatigued yet. Moving into this one. Let's roll our d12. Hopefully not roll another 1. Alright, that's a 9. That means nothing. Alright, let's see if there's anything of interest in this water hex. There is not. Because we're not stopping. So basically we're rolling that d20, and I can pull up this. Okay, so we're doing this roll right there. So we know that there's not anything, we haven't found anything within this hex yet. So the idea is we roll a d20. If we roll low enough, that means there will be something that we basically stumble upon. Now, we can make a more concentrated effort to determine what's in a hex by spending basically, instead of moving on to another hex, we spend the time investigating what's in the hex. And if we do that, we just roll a d6 or a d10 instead of the d20. So there's a higher likelihood. And if we're successful in that search, what we will learn specifically whether that hex has something in it, or we can confirm that it's empty. Otherwise, we never confirm that the hex is empty. We just didn't run across anything in that hex, but we don't know if it's empty or not. So that's sort of where we are there. Boop, boop, boop. All right. So like we said, we're gonna pull that boat up on the shore into the marsh. So let's roll our d6. All right, rolled pretty well again. That's 2. So that puts us to 5 of 6, right? Yep. So 5 of 6. So they get to the edge of this marsh. They're able to sort of like pull the boat up into those deep reeds. And I mean, she's basically leaving the kid there in the marsh, basically wrapped up in a blanket down in the belly of the boat and hiding the boat as well as she can. Now the question is does she have anything to leave the kid a note for? Because that kid's still passed out at this point. So let's find it. Does she have anything that she can use to... No. She does not. So she doesn't have anything... I mean, we'll roll a 1d20 to see if the kid has anything that's in this fishing boat to leave a message with them. But I think that's extremely unlikely. So yeah, I rolled very low, so that's actually a no and. So I think rather than try to figure out what the and in the situation, I think we're just going to set it up as that people have noticed that boat and that child are gone now. Back at the trading post. Like, people have realized that the kid and the boat are no longer there, and they're supposed to be there. Lovely for parents, right? Not knowing where the child is. Just disappearing. Alright, so we're into the marsh. We need to roll for an encounter or something in the marsh. Let's do that. Do they come across anything in the marsh? We do. But this time we rolled a 12, which is good. So, it's not necessarily a fight. Though, a rolling of a 1 doesn't necessarily mean a fight either. I just we ended up getting quivers, and, well, there's not a lot of role play to have with quivers. With, Piranha. Alright, so I've got a list of just sort of like dressing things, which is what we ended up rolling. Alright, that's a 13. So yeah, no, I think that goes as expected. As they're sort of pulling this thing up the water, we now see that the mist is rolling in. We've had this torrential downpour and this heavy winds, and now we see, like, from coming out of the mountains nearby, this mist is kind of coming over and sort of rolling over everything. So got extremely good cover and concealment as far as checking things out. Unfortunately, that means that they have the same disadvantage as far as reconnoitering the camp. They won't be able to see a whole lot. Which may be good. That may mean that Ott can actually get into the camp and maybe get within earshot to hear something relatively easily. But she does not have anything to leave this kid a message, so she's basically going to have to, like, abandon this kid and be like, maybe I'll be back. You're going to have to intuit that if and when you wake up, kid. Right. So we'll just put it here. Does kid wake up? His boat's still there. And we're just going to kind of leave that for a moment. Now, we do know that Ott's getting a bit tired, right? 5 of 6. So definitely in this next move, she's going to feel the exhaustion sort of creep on. But I think she's going to go ahead and push into this next square. So she's going to grab all her stuff and make her way through the marsh into sort of this grassland area on our map where the foreign occupation camp is, and see if she can get closer. So that's what she will do. So alright. So 8 of 6. She'll make it into that grassy area. Oh, we got another 12. We got another piece of dressing. So she's kind of moving through this mist that's sort of rolled in over the area. This heavy rain that sort of pelts it. So there's a lot of sound cover as well. So as far as sneaking, she's got a very good... she's got all the buffs she could possibly want. All the natural buffs she could possibly want to be able to sneak around. Hold on. Just getting back to it. That was plains. Okay, interesting. Alright, so somewhere what I ended up rolling was a pond or a lake. So obviously there's some sort of small pond, and I'm trying to think. So one of the things that comes with it is island ? So let's see. So we want to ask the Oracle: is this occupying camp basically on the little lake island? Like an island in a small pond that they sort of barricaded. That maybe there's sort of like a causeway that walks out to it. Or maybe that lake's just nearby, but let's see if it's actually situated on a little pond island. No, the answer's no. Okay, so there's just a pond next to it, I think. So there's probably like a slightly higher area where they sort of set up the encampment, and potentially a lower area. Now, the question we want to know is, how many people are in this place? And I'll do a quick roll and we'll find that out. Alright, so now I know how many people are in there, but she still needs to sneak up and sort of find a place where she can like count people and figure out. So I think she kind of skirts around that lake, tries to get around sort of like the rise in the area where she can sort of like lay down and get a good vantage point and see if she can count people out. So she's going to have advantage obviously on stealth check, and then disadvantage on the perception check. Oh yeah, no problem on that stealth check. 19 on the die. Unfortunately, she doesn't see very well. I'm double check, but I rolled pretty low, and her perception is not super great. She has a +3 to it, but it's still not even going to make it double digits. So I think that she can tell that there's definitely more than a dozen. But it's really hard to sort of pick, when you're picking sort of shapes out of the mist and out of the shadow, to determine which one of those you've already counted as people. And so she has the feeling that there's definitely more than a dozen people, but she can't tell how many. She hasn't seen sort of like the inside. I'm assuming that this is basically a fortified campsite, bivouac, if you will. So it's basically got like a small sort of fence line around it, and there's some guards stationed. But most of the interior is taken up by like tents, so she can't count the people that are in the tents either. But there are a number of tents, so she knows that there's probably at least more than a dozen people here. But how many, she's not sure. Now, we know, because I just happened to roll it, I shouldn't have done that before, but that there are almost 30 people in there. But she didn't roll high enough to have a more accurate estimation than that. Now the question is she going to sneak closer to get more information? And I think so. I rolled a pretty good stealth check, so let's find out what the DC is. Because they've got some active guards too. Oh yeah, she's like way above whatever their passive would be, especially with disadvantage basically peering through this gloom. So I think and the sound of the heavy rain kind of coming down. So I think she's able to sort of belly up all the way to the palisade itself and try to get an answer. And I think she sort of like shimmies her way sort of along the palisade until she's under sort of one of maybe a couple of the guards who are having a discussion. Are they having a discussion about, let's say, all right, let's say, does she glean any important information from their conversation? Let's just do that. That's a simple D20 roll. Do I think that's likely? Probably. I think that's probably somewhat likely. So I'm going to give a +3 to this roll, just to kind of figure it out. Doesn't matter. It's still going to be no anyways. They're talking about the crappy weather, probably. Or maybe about how they need food. Which would be very important. So let's see. She's going to sneak around a little bit. Not going to make her do another stealth check yet, but I am going to make her have another sort of. I think it's going to be investigation at this point rather than perception, because she's looking for like maybe some way, like a gap somewhere that she can kind of squeeze through and maybe actually get inside the camp in a way that doesn't mean going through like the front gate. So that way maybe she can find somebody who's some documentation or somebody more important talking about, what the heck these people are doing here. Yes, let me do that first. So she's gonna have disadvantage because of everything that's going on. She has a -1 intelligence, so probably not gonna get it in here. No, she's not. So the other big question I had is I wanted to know who these people are. So what I want to know is, go down here, go to here, there's solo exploration. So let's so we know that we are in the wilds. So I'm trying to figure out who's in this encampment, like what type of creatures are holding this encampment, because we don't know that yet. So let's figure that out. So we do a straight 1d6 because we're far away from civilization. No, actually, I take that back. We are technically in the Heartlands. At this level of region. At the local level, we're definitely in the Heartlands. That's the wrong die. Not helpful at all. I'll use that for another one. Alright, so something weird. And I rolled a 19, which would be ooze, and I don't really like that. So I'm going to re-roll that, actually. Unfortunately, the 5th edition oozes just don't have anything that would fit this criteria, so I'm just going to re-roll it. Okay, so a fiend of some type. Interesting. So I think it's probably a fiend that's the leader. It's probably not all fiends. I think there's probably a theme that's leading these people, and I assume that there's probably humanoids that are following them. That's what I would guess. So let me just grab a CR that I think would be sort of appropriate for somebody of this level. Alright, so it's low-level demon, so it's fiend, I should say, not demon. Let's drop out of these. And we need fiends. Of course. Alright, so we've got some fiends. So that's it. We don't have a lot of options when it comes to what's a maw demon look like? Follows. Can I get the actual maw demon? That'd be nice. Oh, that's what this thing looks like. Okay, it's like a what are the things called? Zorts or whatever. Understands but can't. Okay, so I think that the. Alright, so I don't think that the fiend is necessarily leading it. Maybe it's more of a somebody who's helping. I think makes more sense. I was going to say it's sort of an imp, so I think it's an imp that's basically serving as an advisor to maybe a humanoid. One moment. Okay, a halfling. So a halfling's who's leading these people. So I think if we built some humanoids. So let's build let's see who kind of shows up. Or build commoners. I don't really like those. So yeah, maybe like a halfling noble. And I think we're just gonna put these down as guards, I guess. And I think that's sort of all that. I think that's all Ott gets at this point. I think she kind of stares through. She stares through the gloom, and she's able to make out that there's like a smaller, better dressed person among the guards, that seems to have this imp, fiendish advisor that sort of like sits on his shoulder in very parrot style. But because of how much noise is going on and how far away she is, she can't really get any more information than that. So she doesn't have any way to get in. And actually, she is doing all this investigating, so that is going to count, I think, as another action. So, is she spending the time to do this? So I'm going to give her another d6 as far as her con. we rolled a big one, so +5. Alright, so she needs to make a DC 13 con saving throw, or she's going to start taking fatigue. Well, that's not going to work. That's a natural 1. Alright, so she has... Actually, I'll put it up here. So I think she makes her way back to the boat and is like, it's the rain. She looks at how far she'd have to row to get back across. Is the kid asleep still? I'm gonna guess the kid's still passed out, but let's double check. Yeah, so the kid's still passed out. I think she just decides to sort of like make a cold camp here. Does her best to sort of like get them out, and she's got quite good survival. So she's going to try to keep them hidden and safe. They're going to sort of lay low and try to sleep here. So they're going to take the... They're going to bed down. I'm going to let her make a... I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess a stealth check to sort of make sure that the camp's sort of hidden away. And again, she still has advantage on this because the weather's so bad. Not that it means anything. She rolled a 3 and a 2. Alright, so the camp's technically hidden. Not very well. So I think we have basically 2 characters, so we'll make 2 wandering monster checks to see if anybody comes across them while they're bedding down. Thankfully, no. Alright, so a day goes by. Let's test out those rations. Alright, perfect. Still have plenty of rations. She hasn't fired any arrows. They're not using any torches right now. And they kind of go through the night. That exhaustion will go away. The kid will wake up. Once they complete their long rest, they'll have 1 hit point back. And let's set a DC for her. Wow, still rolled very poorly. Man. It's only 7. Alright, so the kid's woken up. She kind of reassures the kid that everything's alright. And I think the kid's gonna... Let's give her a charisma check to see if she can stop the kid from freaking out. Because basically the kid went unconscious and then woke up with this knoll and in some place they don't know. It's not a very good roll. No, so she fails and she's trying to console this kid, but the kid's freaking out. Does the kid make enough noise for the nearby guard encampment to get alerted? Well, just 1d20 it. The rain is probably... Well, no, the weather is exactly the same today. Didn't move at all. But the date does go forward. Basically the 14th. It's still unseasonably cold. A bunch of rain, so pretty miserable camping experience, especially since they weren't able to light a fire. So they're definitely wet. They don't feel great. This kid's freaking out. Did I roll for the guards? I haven't rolled a 1d20 yet, have I? Let me do that. Lost my place. Okay, so it's not making enough noise to draw attention, but the kid's clearly like hyperventilating and freaking out because they just woke up and with an unfamiliar person in an unfamiliar place. And so, Odd is not exactly the most charismatic person. So the 7-foot Knoll is not exactly have the greatest bedside manner and very comforting. So the question is do they hang around to... Are they going to hang around to learn more? I think she's all the way out here. I don't know why she would not give it a second go. And they rested basically during the day, so it could very much be nighttime now. And I think maybe she's going to just try to sneak in through the gate. And right, the weather's still really bad. It's very dark. Probably the torches are not staying lit. She has dark vision. Probably most of the guards don't. Assuming they're humans, probably, most likely. So I think that she'll be able to sneak in. She still has the advantage. See if she can actually get some intel. I think she tells the kid to be safe here, be quiet. I'm going to be back very, very quickly. If I'm come running, be ready to leave quickly. And she tells the kid, don't go anywhere. Stay exactly here with the boat. So she's going to have to rely on that kid. So we're going to have to... so we're going to make a roll once she gets back. Again, is the boat still there? Alright. And with that, she's going to go sneak off and try to get in there. So we're going to roll our 1d6 for our effort. Roll 2. Alright, 2 of 7. Not bad. Does anything happen to her on her way there? 13-12. I rolled a 10. That's no. So she gets there no problem. There's still heavy rain. It's dark. And I think she sort of... Alright, so what is the way? I guess what we need to know is that this is the camp, so I don't think there's probably like a formal gate. I think there's probably just an opening that's got some guards. Let's roll a d4 to determine how many guards are at the gate. It's a good roll. There's only one guard at the gate. Probably going to be able to distract this guard and maybe sort of get in there. So I think Odd probably looks for a nearby rock or something. Very, very much like video game, adventure game. Like, I'm going to pick up a rock and toss it over there and draw their attention away so I can sneak in. So yeah, let's make a stealth check. Again, she still has advantage. And it's something she's quite good at. She has a +4 to the roll. Ooh, natural 20. Yeah, so she tosses it off. The guard's like, huh? She sneaks on by. So she sneaks in. And I think she's going to kind of stick to the edges of the camp. And she's trying to find what's probably the most important tent that's going to have that halfling that she's identified. Maybe talk about what they're doing here. So we got a great sneak roll, so I'm not going to make her have to re-roll that sneak roll. She's great, The weather really sucks, so the guards aren't super active. Like, they're not patrolling around like they should. They're basically huddled up under their cloaks, trying to stay as dry and warm and trying to stay around what fires are staying lit that they have in, like, braziers. So I think this is very easy for her. There's not a bunch of people milling around because the weather's awful and it's raining buckets. So it's really up to her to be able to find it. So I think the DC to find it's exceptionally low. And I think that like most sort of encampment, somebody who's important, their tent's going to stick out as being an important person. It's going to be probably a bigger and better made tent than probably everything else. So I think we'll go with that assumption. So I'm going to give them I would give them advantage, and that's going to be cut down by the bad weather seeing through it. So it's just a standard perception check. And I think the DC is going to be pretty... Actually, I'll make it an effort DC is what I'll do. And then if she doesn't make it in, let's say, 3 turns, then she will... Then something's going to happen. Or every time that she does it, she'll have to do maybe a wandering monster check. Don't want to do that? No. So I think, let's see a DC for that. So 13, so 39. So she needs to reach 39 in perception checks. If she doesn't meet that, if she does that, she's going to find the tent. If she doesn't do it, she's not going to find the tent. She's going to have to make another stealth roll, and there's another chance, longer she stays here, that's going to take more constitution, and there's a higher likelihood that somebody's going to find out she's in the camp. Okay. So these are just straight checks. So the first check, she has a +1 in wisdom, +2 from perception, so she gets a +3 to the roll. So 10 or better, she's in good shape. Well, that's 9. It's 12. Not a great start. Alright, second check is she's sort of like moving in the shadows, kind of moving around, listening and peeking under sort of like the flaps of tents, trying to see what's what. So 13. Alright, so she needs to roll basically 11 or better to make this work. If not, then she may be in some trouble real quick. Natural 20. Love to see it. Yeah, so I think she... So yeah, it's a natural 20, so she not only finds the tent, they are having specifically the conversation that she's trying to hear in on. They're talking specifically about what they're doing here. So let's do... We have basically 3 questions we wanted to answer, right? We want to know who they are, why they're here, and how long they're staying. So let's roll a d3 to find out which one of those we get the answer to, because I think we're going to get the answers to 2 of those things. And then if we try to stick around again, we might get the answer to the 3rd. So let's roll a d3 to figure out which of those 2 that we're going to find out. Alright. 1 and 2. Alright, so we're going to figure out who they are. And we're going to figure out why they're there, right? The second one. Why they're here, yeah, who they are. Okay, so I'm thinking this is going to be a faction. Now we haven't set up anything. Let's look at our map real quick. Now we don't really have anything on our map that says specifically anything this might be, like who these people might be from. We don't have anything that kind of details that. So the only people that we have that might make sense for coming from this area might be coming from this hamlet. And let's just ask the Oracle, is that the case? No. Alright, so we know they're not from the hamlet. Perfect. So they're from somewhere else. Actually, I rolled a 4, so it's no and something else. That's what I was checking. So no and PC. We only got 1 PC, so we know who it's going after. So it's going to be something to do about Leah. 42. Haggle. 92. Haggle animals. You know, maybe these people are also trying to capture the Myrmidon. Maybe that's why they were here originally. They were trying to figure out a plan of capture the water elemental. And they just haven't had a chance to sort of get to it yet. Basically, a card beat them to it. Okay. So, we kind of know why they're here. They're here. And they're here for exactly the same reason that, what's that guy's name? Norkruth. Norkruth wanted to capture the... Actually, let's just make it that. So these guys are actually here to buy the Myrmidon off of Norkruth. Like, he already made arrangements for them for a seller for this thing, but he hasn't captured it. Let's put that down there. So we're bringing this guy back into the mix. Okay. So who are they? You know, I have this handy dandy D100 NPCs table. This is also in my DM binder. I think I've gone over this before on the blog, but if not, we're definitely going to get to it as I start to look at more things that are actually in my personal DM's binder. But this is a really good thing when you're just like, I need some sort of... So we know that he's a noble, but like, who are these people? What are they doing? Let's see if this is going to give us any hints. I think I may do this with our event action and subject to maybe give us some more context and kind of figure out what's going on. 57. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes... 57 slaver, by the way. So this guy's another slaver, and he's trying to buy this creature, maybe trying to take it for like an arena or something. So yeah, like Norkruth understands that trying to probably transport this water elemental over a great distance is probably an incredibly bad idea. So he was like, I have a friend that kind of comes to this region, or somebody I know, acquaintance, a peer, and I'm going to just sell it directly to them, and they can deal with sort of... I want to keep this thing in my possession as little as possible. I want to immediately offload it because it seems extremely dangerous. So they are slavers as well. And we're going to add this down here to... these guys down here, even though they're sort of their own faction, but we are going to add them under here because they make the most sense right here. So, halfling slaver. So they're capturing animals and monsters for arena games, let's say. Alright, so do we want to stick around to find out how long they're going to hang out for? I don't think so. And here's why I say that. I think it's going to be very obvious now. If their primary interest is in the Myrmidon just moved yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago at this point, or a day and a half. As far as they know, Norcruth is still at Split Valley Oasis Trading Post. So I think that they are more interested that they could potentially just track down and capture the Myrmidon themselves and not have to pay Norcruth anything. I think that's what they're interested in doing. So we know this now is population, that's 28. So yeah, I don't think that there's enough. They're not going to get enough benefit to make it worth the risk of sticking around. So I think Ott did her thing. She's going to boogie out back to the boat. Oof. Alright, well that was 6, so now she's up to 8, so she's already feeling tired, just slogging through, like she's been on her belly in the mud and just sneaking through camp. She's like fully soaked to the bone. And then trudging back through like waist deep water. She's cold and she's hungry and she hasn't had a fire or a dry bed in days now, or in a day. And so she moves and she goes back. We didn't roll any random encounters for her to have to deal with. So she makes it back to where the boat is. Now the question is the boat still there? She did not do a very good job of calming the kid, so I'm going to give him a +3 and think that like, as soon as Ott disappears, like, maybe this kid just tried to make a break with it, with the boat. But they're also still kind of hurt. They may not have a lot of strength. So I think those things are going to cancel each other out. It's just going to be a flat roll. Now, the question I asked was, is the boat still there? That's important because I rolled an 18. So yes. The question is the boat is still there? This 18 a plus. Always forget. Okay, so that's a yes and. Alright. So how was that important to Leah? Because we didn't tie them back to Leah. So we have let me do that real fast. So we have the advisor to the halfling noble. We have guards, so we know that they're... I think they know enough about the events of yesterday that they know, they believe that Leah is the key. Because Omer's been here a while, and they've seen Omer not do anything with the thing, except basically observe it with the Myrmidon. But Leah not showed up, and then things were immediately taken care of. So they probably believe Leah is the key to capturing the Myrmidon. So that's how it's going to tie to Leah. They're going to be coming after Leah soon. So we did also roll our 1d6. This, because the boat's there and the kid NPC positive. Okay. So obviously we want this to be positive. We have a little list of NPCs here, right? And NPCs that are here. So I think we would include Ott is potential. Omer. Akari, the Halfling Slaver, Norcruth. Sure, the Split Valley Occultist, so 6. And the kid, so 7. Let's roll a d8. Eight. Ott, Akari, Halfling Slaver, Norkruth, Omer. So this is something positive for Omer. Let's see. Oh, so I think the kid finds an important piece of the... Kid wasn't supposed to go anywhere, but he did see sort of like a glint of metal in the water, and he went and recovered an important piece of... We recovered... So yeah, important piece of research gear for Omer. Alright, so that's good. That's good. That's something that'll be good. I think we'll probably have to pay the kid something for that. In addition to, honestly, at this point, he's going to get his pay, I suppose. Yeah, it's good. So we're actually going to... Leah's actually going to shell out and give this guy... well, I'd say that she's going to pay for half of it, and then... Let's say Omer would pay half of it, so 19. So the kid's going to get 6 in addition to the 1. So kid made good money today. Nearly died, but made good money. Obviously, his parents and everybody are going to be freaking out because he's been gone for almost 24 hours with the boat. Alright, and then I guess they start their descent, their way back. Unfortunately, Ott's not in a super great way. But Ott's gonna, I think at this point, we don't want to hang out near this encampment any longer. So I think they think that, you know, we gotta get across this place. So we're gonna go ahead and roll her con save. Alright, so she passed. This goes up to 10. So she passed. And so, because they'd returned there, so now they're here again. So she's going to keep rowing. Does anything have to? Probably not. No, thank goodness. No more quippers. Right, then we'll do another. She passes again. Good rolls. She rolled a 15 on the die. Anything? Alright, nothing. Alright, so this is the last one. She's probably going to make it back to Split Valley Oasis, no problems. She is fatigued, but she does make it there. So level 1 exhaustion gives this one up to 21. And she failed that save. But she gets it there. I think that is there any fallout from the kid? Is any of that directed at Knot? I think it's likely. Knot's new to the area. She's a Knoll. Not super accepted anyways. And then she just took off with this kid, but she paid the kid well. So let's just give her a flat 20 to see if anything comes of Knot's, you know, potentially being read as an abduction of this child. Yeah. So the answer to that is yes. So I think they've reached the shore, and then there's the kid, and the kid gets out, and there's probably people all over the place looking for this kid. I think they probably get flagged down by a boat before they get there. It kind of comes in with them. And then there are people like on the shore waiting for them, and I think there are guards from the trading post that are immediately sort of like coming after Auden, trying to put her into shackles and trying to put her, because it's probably quite early in the morning now, because we kind of went and investigated the camp at night and then stuck around and spent a few hours after that. So it's probably closer to like 5. It's probably about sunbreak is probably about to happen. daybreak. So it's definitely in sort of like the wee hours in this terrible, bad weather of rain, from the lingering effects of the storm that used to be here. And they sort of row up on shore, and then people start grabbing Ott and putting it at... There's big to-do. Does anybody come to Ott's assistance? It is sort of a weird time, but let's see. I think it's unlikely that Leah comes, but maybe Omer or one of the others comes. Let's see. I'm gonna give a +3 to this roll because we have the piece of equipment from Omer. So I think if anybody's likely to be there and pick up on it, it's probably Omer, because he's been in this area down by the shore anyways, because of what he's been doing, sort of trying to dredge everything. Alright, 17 plus 3, that's 20. So it's a yes, and I think we're going to go, obviously, with the and part being Ott. Ott's the person who's going to need the and part right now. Some benefit for Ott, because I think they're about ready to clap Ott in irons and throw her into a holding cell till they figure out what to do with her for kidnapping a kid and then coming back. So I think Omer explains it. He's got I think weaves a story about, asking her to hire a boat to go out, and then I think that Omer, as he did originally with Leah and Akari, kind of just smooths that transition over. And I think that they sort of smooth out that transition about, no, it's fine. And so they do that, so nothing ill really happens of that. So I think we got what we needed to do. The only thing that's left now is, I think Ott's going to go back to the Caravanserai, Nansumbers, right? That's the name of it. I'm crazy, but I'm looking for... Yeah, Nansumber Caravanserai and livery. So she's going to go back there. I think she's going to get a hot bath and a good sleep, as Leah's still sort of chugging away at this thing. So I think another day's going to pass. And I think that Ott informs Leah about the group and that they may be interested in her, and probably has already shared that with Omer when she got back and talked with Omer about that. That, hey, you should know that there's this other group that's looking for the Myrmidons, and they seem to be working together with Norkruth, which they had met previously. Yeah, so that's so right, we're going to change this to Halfling Slaver. So I think we're going to add some complications down here to Omer. So obviously the Halfling Slaver wants that. So Norkruth also wants to capture and sell the elemental to the Halfling. I don't really need a name for the Halfling yet because we haven't actually interacted with them. Alright, so that's sort of where we are right now. It's a little bit early. I don't really want to end the stream yet, but I also don't want us to get off anything else, because the only thing that Ott has left to do is to tell Akari about what's going on. Basically report back in, which he'll do this day. So I think we're just going to skip a day, because that's basically all she's going to do on the day. And the weather's not really going to matter for that. And then she'll no longer have So Ott's done this, done all this. EX. Exhaustion. There we go. So we got that. Okay. Alright, so what are we gonna do now? I guess we need to figure out primarily what we're gonna do next time. So, obviously, we still got a few days before Leah's gonna get that training finished. So she's still out of commission for another, what is that, 5 days? No, 7 days? Why did I give her so much? I was only giving her a week. I guess technically only 2 days have really passed. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so Leah's still very much in her training. I think within basically 2 days, Omer's probably have finished anything that he's going to have finished. I'm trying to figure out, do we just want to do a straight up time skip, or is there something else that happens? I think, so I think we could either have Halfling Slaver and or Norkruth, or both, kind of demand Leah and Omer's help. That'd be an interesting thing to do. Otherwise, Ott's not... I guess we should figure out, is Ott going to hang around at this point? Because, Ott might take up one of the slavers on their role to go after things. Go after the elemental. I might pay her well for that. Alright, so yeah. So I think we have 2 parties that are interested in the Myrmidon right now. And I think they're going to talk to one of the 3 interested parties that we have. So they're either going to talk to Leah, they're going to talk to Omer, or they're going to talk to Ott. Try to recruit them. So let's just figure out who that's going to be. Alright, so which one of these guys is going first? Norkruth is in town, so let's start with Norkruth. Who does he go after? Norkruth goes after Ott. And the Halflings come after Slaver. Right. The Halfling Slaver comes after Leah. Okay. We've got sort of, and, Alright, so I think we're gonna let this one be sort of like off-screen. Norkruth's gonna try to hire Ott. I think we'll roll the 1d20 Oracle and figure out how that goes. Because right now, she's got days before Leah can potentially hire her to do anything. And at this point, Ott's running out of ways to make money, so she may kind of move on from the area. Which means she may kind of dip out of our story for a while, if not completely. So yeah, let's see. Just roll a d20, Oracle. Does Norkruth hire Ott? Go after the Water Myrmidon. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think yes and so we rolled. This is going to affect Leah in some way. And 21, so that is release. Release environment. Release environment. I'm not sure I know what that would mean, as far as Leah's concerned. Other than, I think maybe Norkuth's trying to... He probably knows that the Halfling's going to try to hire Leah. And I think he is trying to get Ott... He grills Ott on how they can get Leah out of here, basically. To give him a better chance at being able to capture this water elemental. And I think Ott knows a little bit. She knows why they came. So I think she explains that, Leah's really only here to see Omer. To ask him some questions about research they did forever ago. I mean, Ott only sort of like half listened to all of that because it really doesn't concern her. So Norkuth knows, So I think that maybe Norkuth leans on Omer to have that conversation. Being like, hey, before you can go do this, I hear that, Leah wanted to talk to you about something, and tries to sort of push him in that direction. And then they're going to have that conversation. But I think, let's see, Halfling's going to try to hire Leah first. So I think some representatives come into the caravanserai. Norkuth and Ott sort of like dip out once they see who it is. And they bang on Leah's door, and Leah comes and answers the door. But like, we'd like to have your help in dealing with this Myrmidon, and I think Leah's kind of flustered. She's basically locked herself in this room for 2 days to work on stuff and hasn't done anything but that. And now somebody comes and interrupts her, and she's not happy about it. They wanted to do with the Myrmidon again, which she's still not happy about. She doesn't want to do anything with the Myrmidon. She doesn't care. Other than, and I'm sure Omer's been kind of bugging her about it over the past couple days. So I think she's going to deny their offer. But let's see. I'm just going to roll a GM Oracle. Do they bring anything to the table that would change Leah's mind about that? Because Leah's kind of technically already hired for a job, which is the foreign occupier thing. Which I assume Ott kind of told her about. Enough. I don't think that the Halfling showed up. I think representatives from the Halfling showed up. Alright, well, they rolled a natural 20. So what are they going to offer Leah that is so enticing that she can't say no to it? Not only that she can't say no, she's in fact basically putting herself in opposition to Omer and Ott. And the only way I think is that it's got to tie back to one of her threads. Or one of her people. So, I think we have a couple options. It could be some information about her father. So I think that's definitely one that would definitely sort of snap her out of saying no, just off mark. And I was thinking about this earlier. Imbar might be part of that might be part of that group with the halfling. We don't know that. But I don't think that wouldn't entice Leah. I don't think it would have anything to do with Camille. I don't think they're going to have anything that's going to have anything to do with her mother. But she does know that she's basically hired. She could basically double dip if she does this, right? Because basically, Akari has hired her to sort of like figure out what this group is doing and to get them out of here before anything else happens. And so she could basically double dip payment on the same adventure, which is help these guys deal with the Myrmidon and get them out of here. And then come back and get Akari. And Akari's already promised her a lot, so she doesn't want to go in the face of that. Ooh, so that's a pretty good one. And I think the third one... get this one in. We already know that. So I think the other thing that could do that is they have some information related to... I guess related to the... Something about the deceased colleague. Something about their... Maybe they know... They know information about somebody who's been very interested, been asking around about draconic origins, primordial origins of dragons. So I'm going to say they know a VIP, so somebody important. Or, let's say, investigating. Alright, let's roll for which one of those this is. Alright, so we're just going to roll a d3. We rolled a 4th, that's right in the middle, so they don't have any information about her father. But Leo's a smart lady. She understands that she can basically get paid double for the same thing. She knows what we're dealing with. The halfling has a bunch of people, so this really shouldn't be very difficult for them to put it down. Does she care? Does she care about enslaving an elemental? You know what? I'm gonna make a... That's the thing that keeps her from saying no, but, like, is she going to feel compelled to sort of make sure the elemental stays free? Because I think she understands that elementals kind of work like constructs and they don't necessarily have a well-developed sort of like sentience intelligence. And as a creature that doesn't really eat or sleep, the idea of being a slave to fight, I don't know, it all seems very, very interesting. I'm not quite sure how that would work. So I'm just gonna make a d20 roll, and we're gonna do a very old school D&D roll under. So I'm gonna roll under her charisma to be like she feels okay with this plan. She doesn't feel She doesn't have any moral ambiguity about it that would stop her from doing it. And she's gonna have advantage / disadvantage in this case to roll lower because it was a natural 20. This is a very lucrative offer to basically get paid twice to do the same exact job she was already going to do. Yep, and she rolled a 10, thank goodness, because the other one was a natural 20. We're rolling a lot of natural 20s today. These dice usually don't do that. So yeah, she'll be hired on and double dip. So what is her? I think the slaver. I think the slaver's willing to pay her pretty handsomely. I think they're gonna pay her, let's say, $5 gold a day. I'm gonna pay her $5 gold a day. So I think that sets up where we're gonna be for next time. So I think we're gonna have this 3-way scramble, I think, to the south, that they're gonna try to. Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. So yeah, as I was saying, it looks like we're gonna have basically a 3-way scramble, I think, to the Myrmidon. You got 2 people that are going to try to capture it, and Omar, whose goal is going to be to sort of get it out of here. All right.